Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Alex and in this video I'll give you my 22 best watches released during 2022. I've tried to actually keep it to as many pieces as possible that I've actually had some hands on and that I've seen in real life. Not possible though, since there are so many releases I've yet to see in real life. For the ones I've actually seen and reviewed previously on the channel, I leave the links down in the description for each of those pieces. And in this list it's a wide selection of pieces ranging from a $500 Seiko to a 400,000 euro Bulgari. So it's a bit of this and that, and it's my personal picks of pieces that I've felt wow about when they were released during this year. Let's get started. And we'll start, of course, a bit humble with the Seiko 5 Sports GMT, a watch that I reviewed shortly after it was released. And I must say, hats off to Seiko for pulling off a GMT watch with an automatic movement under $500. For this model I have a particular sweet spot, since the first watch that actually got me into the whole watch industry was the SKX007, and this one is basically that but with the GMT function. And I mean, just the value for money that you get with this watch is incredible, and it's definitely one of the first pieces I chose to be on this list. Another piece that I saw recently during November was the Cartier Pebble, and this is a reissue, so to say, of the original Cartier Pebble that was released in 1972. 150 pieces made, super hard to get your hands on. These went to only the die-hard collectors, and I know some die-hard collectors didn't even manage to get one. What's special about this watch is that the amount of existing examples of the originals are like maximum 10 pieces. I've read somewhere 6. I know Cartier has 3 of them already in their own possession. I know John Goldberger has at least 2, as far as I know. So I mean, somewhere around that, and these pieces are fetching extremely high premiums on auctions. It's even more rare than a Cartier Crash that's a rare piece. It was a bit shocking to see it released actually. I didn't think that particular watch was going to be a re-edition anytime soon, but definitely one of my favorites from 2022. A watch that I saw in Geneva during Watches and Wonders this year was the Patek Philippe Annual Calendar Travel Time Reference 5326G. A first for Patek Philippe to combine the annual calendar and the travel time complication. And this one surprised me because these kind of dials with colored lume or fake patina basically are not something I really see Patek do. They are usually more on the elegant spectrum of doing dial designs and such, but that's what caught my attention with this one. I think it looks really good, and this is something for the frequent traveler that likes to sort of fly under the radar but with a kick-ass timepiece on his or her wrist. And I must say that I like it. It's a bit too big for my wrist, but one of the coolest timepieces released this year for sure. Another kick-ass watch that was released this year is the MB&F Legacy Sequential Evo. This chronograph is just out of this world. It's a mind-blowing piece. It features actually 2 separate independent chronographs, and you can time whatever you like. It's a split time, it's a chess game timer. It's everything you'd ever want from a chronograph. And it's an expensive piece, around $200,000, but this is just insane. And to see it in real life, I mean, even when the guy from MB&F explained it to me, I was like, I still don't understand. And there's so many different ways of using the chronograph to time this and that. I suggest, if you're impressed by this piece, to read more about it because it's mind-blowing, and it rightfully won the Grand Prix at the GPHG this year. So 2 thumbs up for MB&F for developing such a magnificent chronograph. Another super impressive piece, and for a short period of time the thinnest mechanical watch in the world, was the Bulgari Octo Finissimo Ultra. And this one blew my mind when I saw it. I have yet to see it in real life. I haven't had a chance yet, unfortunately, but this piece is just a mechanical marvel. And I mean, the way of constructing something like this with this thinness and it's mechanical is just wow. And they got beat by Richard Mille a couple of months later with 0.05 millimeters. So the Bulgari Octo Finissimo Ultra is 1.8 millimeters thick, while the Richard Mille measures in at 1.75 millimeters. But I must say, for me, those 0.05 millimeters doesn't make any difference, because I believe that the Bulgari is so much more beautiful to look at rather than the Richard Mille. And Bulgari the last couple of years have really put in an extra gear in their quest of being the what Piaget once were, with ultra thin movements and watches. They broke many world records, including thinnest tourbillon, thinnest chronograph, thinnest this. Very impressive, and I love what Bulgari are doing right now. The Breitling Chronomat GMT was a very good move by the brand, because they shrunk the diameter of the watch from the chrono from its 42mm to a wearable 40mm in the GMT. They released a couple of different colorways, all had sunburst except one, and that's the white one, and that's the one I chose for my top 22, because I really think it's a good looking watch, contemporary, sporty. It has design cues from the past, such as the updated rouleau bracelet or bullet bracelet. And I just think this watch, for its price point, is a good pick if you want something in stainless steel that's sporty and that has a useful complication in form of a GMT. And I tried it on recently, and it looks pretty good even on a small wrist like mine that's 16.5 centimeters. So sporty GMT watch, sub 10K, definitely check out this one. I believe this one earns its spot on my top 22 for 2022. Another watch that got downsized this year is the Longines Spirit 37. They shrunk it from 40 to 39 to 37, and I believe they made the right move doing so. This watch I reviewed earlier this year. It's actually right now my most viewed video on the channel, together with the Zulu time, that's the GMT version. And this watch really offers a lot of bang for the buck. I believe it's a great go anywhere, do anything watch. It's not dressy, not too sporty, it's somewhere in between. Great case size, wears like a dream, 3 different dial options, and just a stunning piece for the price tag. Another piece that I was really wowed by is the Cartier Santos Dumont in rose gold with the lacquered case. Another Watches and Wonders release, and this one shocked me. I haven't really seen anything like this before. Yes, I have ish, but not in this sense from Cartier. And I must say that this one didn't only wow me, but it seemed to be a huge hit on social media, especially this version in rose gold. They also released one in steel with black lacquer and one in platinum with burgundy lacquer. But by far, the rose gold version seems to be a favorite amongst many people out there, and I understand why. And from the looks of it, that's why it made it on my list. Another watch that got downsized is the Parmigiani Tonda PF. This year, Parmigiani really took a grip around their Tonda PF line, introduced many different models, such as a GMT, such as a skeletonized version, such as a tourbillon. But now in the last months of this year, they downsized it and made a 36mm version opposed to the 40mm version. This one lacks a micro rotor movement, which is a shame, but I mean, probably much cost in the R&D department to make a new micro rotor movement to fit a smaller case. But this one looks stunning, and this is another clear indication that the demand for smaller cased watches, mid-sized watches, is steadily rising. I believe that from the stainless steel sports watch segment with integrated bracelet, Parmigiani is heavily underestimated, and I believe they have a lot more coming in the upcoming years, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they have up their sleeves. It's hard to make a top 22 without mentioning one of the Speedmasters released this year. I chose the Speedmaster in Moonshine Gold with the gold dial and black subdials on the rubber strap because I think this one looks really great. Omega released several impressive Speedmasters during the year, and we've seen them in white gold, 321, the whatever, you know, and also the Chrono Chime, which is a very complicated watch that looks ridiculously good, but it has a price tag that's let's not talk about it. The Moonshine Gold version on the rubber strap for me is a home run. One pet peeve that I have with this one is the AU750 stamp on the dial to indicate that the dial is made of solid gold. They could have skipped that, but yeah, it is what it is. Still a great looking watch and has deserved its spot on my top 22 list. Moser is a brand that likes to do funky stuff, and the Streamliner is no exception. This time I chose to include the Streamliner Tourbillon with the rainbow bezel in stainless steel with this gray-brown Fumet dial that I saw during Geneva Watch Days. Just a cool piece. I love this integrated bracelet. I love the rainbow bezel. It's playful. It has a complication in form of a tourbillon, a flying tourbillon. And it's just a cool piece that I will never afford, but I just think it looks really good. And it's quite wearable as well with its 40mm case. They also released one in rose gold with the Vanta black dial that is also ridiculous. But I like my stones in the bezels, especially when there's a rainbow theme. So this one, great job Moser. So let's go down a couple of zeros in the price tag and take a look at the Baltic 3 compacts that they recently launched in 2 different versions. We have a Panda and an inverted Panda. So basically white dial with black subdials or a black dial with white subdials. Both look really, really good. Clearly inspired by the 60s chronographs from Universal Genève, for example. But I mean, they still offer these with a reasonable price tag, considering it's a manual winding movement. Around 2,000 euros, I believe. And I'm dying to see one in person because I think this could be a really good pick for the guys looking for a chrono under the 3,000 euro US dollar mark, and especially if you like retro inspired pieces. And yeah, just a beautiful watch that in my opinion offers a lot of value for the price tag. Another watch that I took a closer look at recently and that I believe offer a lot of value for the money, it's like a competitor to the Longines Spirit one, I'd say. That's the Nomos Club Sport 37 that I believe is a really good looking watch, even though the dials are maybe not quite what I always like because they are sunburst and in very bright colors. But I still think the watch looks good and it offers a lot of bang for the buck. I hope that Nomos will release more dial options for this model in the future, such as they have in the other Club Campus watches. So matte dials with a bit of texture, please. Yeah. But yeah, I must say when I had it in hand, in-house caliber, good build quality. Sure, it has some things that could be improved, but I still think it's one of the strongest releases and in my opinion, the best release from Nomos this year by far. So it's going to be interesting to see what they have up their sleeve for future versions of this watch. And I believe if you're looking for something for every day that's a bit sporty, that has a good water resistance, definitely check out the Club Sport 37 by Nomos Glashytte. Another piece that caught me by surprise during Watches and Wonders was the most complicated watch ever produced by Grand Seiko in their Kodo Constant Force Tourbillon. It's a crazy piece that, yeah, I didn't see this one coming to say the least, and I don't believe many people did. Super complicated, skeletonized, just a very cool watch by Grand Seiko. They showed what they can do. They don't only produce, you know, quite affordable watches with great accuracy and build quality and finish, but now they also moved into the haute horlogerie segment with this flying tourbillon watch that is just a crazy piece and that definitely deserved its place on my top 22. So Bulgari didn't only make it with one watch, but with 2 watches this time on my top 22 list. The Octo Finissimo in yellow gold with the brown dial that they released during Geneva Watch Days, and that is unfortunately a 50-piece limited edition for the US market, was definitely one of my favorite pieces that they showed during Geneva Watch Days. I love the fact that they made it in yellow gold, because that's my precious metal of choice. I prefer yellow over rose, and the trend has clearly been rose gold dominated for the last couple of years. But this one looks really good. I believe it's a beautiful watch. I'm a huge fan of the Octo Finissimo, and the combination between yellow gold and a brown dial for me is very 70s, and that I believe that really fits this watch super well. Another sports watch with an integrated bracelet in stainless steel from an independent watchmaker is the Czapek Antarctique S. This is the smaller version of the Antarctique, so they released it now in 38.5 millimeters for this year with two different dials, either a light blue, glacier blue dial or a salmon colored one. Perfect for the ones that felt that the original Antarctic, which is around 40 millimeters, is a bit too big. I wish I could pull it off, but I just feel every time I try it on, it's a tad bit too large for my wrist. So the Antarctique S fits me much better. It has some small, for me, there's always a small problem when you shrink an existing model. For example, when AP shrunk the 39 millimeter jumbo to a 37 millimeter case, it can get a bit chubby, if you know what I mean. And this is the case with the Antarctique S, but I still believe it's such a good piece that issue is something I could overlook. And I wish and hope I will be able to get one in the future, because this watch is a piece that just appeals me a lot with the bracelet and the dial designs and the beautiful movement. So definitely has its spot on my list for this year. Another watch that blew my mind during Geneva Watch Days 2022 was an insane piece by Arnold & Son. It's the Luna Magna Ultimate 2, and this piece is just when I saw it on the pictures before I saw it in real life, I was like, wow, this is something extra. And it features the largest 3D moon phase in the world with its 12 millimeter large moon phase. It's, it has a dial to die for. Colorways is just fantastic. It has Paraiba tourmalines, I believe they're called in English, that are set around the watch, on the dial, on the moon phase, everywhere is just crazy. They released it in 8 pieces only, and I know for a fact that one single retailer bought them all immediately. So I guess he felt kind of mind blown as well as I did. So yeah, just a cool watch that looks fantastic in my opinion. For the next watch, if we chill down a bit, this one is not as expensive as the Arnold & Son I just mentioned, but it's a watch that I'm impressed by every time I have it in hand. I made a review about it earlier, but not this particular version. Build quality, superb. Finishing, superb. Looks really good. Great size. And that's the Tissot PRX 35mm quartz version in the gold tone. This piece is perfect for the guys that want the looks of a full yellow gold watch, but on a budget. Around $500 or euros. It's just insane amount of value for the money with this piece. And it's so much 70s with this gold tone. Gold tone dial, gold tone case. Love the PRX and what Tissot did with that model line, how they resurrected it from the original Sea Star. So if you're on a budget but want the looks of a gold watch on the wrist, you should definitely check out the Tissot PRX. If you're not on a budget and want the same kind of aesthetics as the Tissot PRX, then the Chopard Alpine Eagle in yellow gold that they recently released is a really good looking watch that has the same kind of tone on tone with a full yellow gold case and bracelet and a gold colored dial. I've been a fan of the Alpine Eagle since it was introduced. I believe it's a good modern reinterpretation of the original Saint Moritz that they released back in the 80s. I think this one, when I saw it, I was shocked. I said, wow. And that's why it made it onto my list. Really good looking watch. Full yellow gold, beautiful dial with this texture that is inspired by the iris of an eagle. Yeah, just a good looking watch. Another precious metal piece that was released during Watches and Wonders with a sporty take but with a complicated movement is the Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris Perpetual calendar in rose gold, matched with a blue rubber strap. And this piece, even though it's 42, wears really well on a smaller wrist. It looks really good. It's complicated in-house movement, stunning dial with this also smoked and textured look. I believe it's a really good release by Jaeger-LeCoultre. Fantastic piece, expensive, around 30, 40k or something like that on the strap, but just yeah, it was easy to include it on the list, to say the least. And by now you probably know that I like the integrated bracelet sports watches from the 70s, and the Girard Perregaux Laureato copper in the 38mm size that was released perfectly during for autumn, I think it was in October, is a great looking watch as well that I believe offers bang for the buck. This one comes in a full stainless steel case and bracelet, but it has a copper tone dial. Reminds me a bit of the vintage Datejust from the 60s and 70s, that you could choose a full stainless steel case and bracelet, but with a champagne colored dial. Like the contrast with the dial to the case. Also like, as I previously mentioned, the tone-in-tone watches, but this one looks really good, comes in a wearable size, and is just a stunning watch to look at. And of course, last but definitely not least, we had the big 50th anniversary for the Royal Oak this year, so impossible not to include at least one of those pieces on the list. They released like 5,000 different models for the 50th anniversary. I had to choose one, and the one I chose was one of the first one they introduced, and that's the 16202 BA, so the jumbo in yellow gold with this smoky gold dial. And I mean, yeah, it's one of those grail watches that I probably never have, but it's a grail for a reason. I love the funkiness. This goes so well with the 70s design of the Royal Oak. Fantastic watch, super hard to get your hands on and so on. But yeah, I mean, all in all, they made many different interesting releases for the 50th anniversary, but this one was one of the ones that really stood out for me and that I believe is a truly stunning watch. So yeah, that concludes the list of 22 pieces from 2022, and it was hard to choose, it was hard to pick out which ones I should include or not include. I think I did a pretty honest job towards myself to include the ones that really appeals me by heart. And I mean everything from the $500 Seiko to the 400,000 euro Bulgari Octo Finissimo Ultra. There's so many beautiful watch releases from this year, so it was a tough job, I must say. Let me know in the comments, guys, which pieces you think should have been on the list, which piece you believe is the best release in your eyes from this year. I'd love to continue the discussion with you guys down in the comments. For now, I'll take a short break during the holidays for Christmas and New Year's Eve, but I'll be back in 2023 in January with new videos, so stay tuned. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next year.